Hi, it's Andre from the Woodstock years, and today we're going to be asking the question, was Dave Roberts, one of the financial backers, was he responsible for this whole phenomenon of extended guitar solos and drum solos that happened when 500,000 people suddenly turned up at Woodstock? More in a moment. Hi, it's Andre for Woodstock here. So just to set the scene, there was 50,000 people turned up at Shea Stadium to watch the Beatles. 500,000 turned up at Woodstock when they were only predicting 50,000. So far we've learnt that Michael Lang, one of the key organisers, he had a big background in particular jazz. His mum and dad were entrepreneurs. They ran a jazz club, and it was his improvisation that helped them solve literally up to 100 problems a day to get even this on the road. He met up with his partner, that was Artie Kornfeld, who was a producer at Capitol Records, round about the time when Artie was working with a young Debbie Harry in a band called Wind in the Willows. We also found out that Max Yasgur, who actually provided his farm for Woodstock, he wasn't actually pro-counterculture at all. In fact, he was a conservative Republican. He was very much pro-Vietnam War, but he agreed, yes, for the money, which he did need because of some harvest problems, but also on the principle of he might not have agreed with the hippie lifestyle, but he agreed with their right to express themselves and have their 3-day festival of peace and music, which is why he actually ended up going to court on their behalf many times when the authorities tried to stop the festival even happening. But now we're going to move the focus on to Dave Roberts. Now, there was 4 people involved in Woodstock Ventures. We know Michael Lang and Artie Kornfeld. These were the creative guys who were responsible for putting the event together, but then you had the financial guys, and one of these guys was Dave Roberts. He was a financial backer. So I'm going to take you back now to the day of Woodstock. So the day before, you'd had about 60,000 people turn up. Michael Lang had gone to see Max Yasgur to say it's going to be about 80,000 because that's how many tickets he'd sold. And then all of a sudden, on the actual day, they've got 500,000 people turn up, and it's chaos. You know, Max Yasgur sadly is having 3 angina attacks. The fences are coming down, and Dave Roberts is really panicking that there's going to be some deaths. You know, they've not had that many people together in peacetime before, and he was really worried that there could be some kind of incident. And then he had the idea that they had to make them drop. Now, what does that mean? What that means is he wanted the bands to keep playing, not just do their regular sets, but to just keep playing for hours and hours. He wanted those kids so tired, or young people so tired, that they would literally fall asleep where they were. Remember, they were all shoulder to shoulder. Now, the bands at Woodstock, I mean, these were up-and-coming bands. Crosby, Stills and Nash were, you know, brand new. Santana hadn't even made a record. So these bands didn't have material. It wasn't like, say, for example, Live Aid, where a lot of the bands that had been playing had been down for years. It was completely the opposite. So perhaps in a small way, Dave Roberts' insistence, and his background was in pharmaceuticals, so perhaps he was, you know, quite worried about, you know, the effects of, you know, festivals might have on people and stuff. But maybe he influenced this idea of extending guitar solos, and because a lot of the people just didn't have the material. I mean, when Richie Havens went on stage to start with, he ended up doing 7 encores. His last encore, Freedom, was a song he literally made up on the spot. So perhaps in a real way, Dave Roberts, you know, introduced this idea out of kind of desperation of extending guitar solos, drum solos, doing whatever it took to keep the music going so that it would carry on until the early hours and make sure that all the young people would literally fall asleep where they were. So I hope that all makes sense. This is Andre from Woodstock Years saying till next time, bye for now. The Woodstock Years, counting down to the 50th anniversary of 500,000 Strong.